One of the things I would like to do one day is make a full-length narrative podcast or series. You know the type, the sort of show that opens with some nice arpeggios plinking underneath the host while they are speaking. They won't go on for too long, but the music is there to signal to the listener that this is the intro. The musical accompaniment underscores that the person speaking is friendly and approachable. Usually they'll go on to talk about what the show is about, and what you have to look forward to in the rest of the episode. The arpeggios usually stop when the host finishes their spiel. In this example, the host uses the natural gap to deepen the connection with the listener. The lack of background music gives emphasis to the personal remark or anecdote that's going to come next. Maybe there's a little sound effect thrown in to hold your attention too. I am a little nervous about scoring this show after I've recorded the voiceover lines, as I have no idea how much effort it's going to be. Now that the host and listener are acquainted and have built some rapport with the help of musical cues, we can move on. A show that's being super obvious about its scoring will now use a cheap trick to influence people's emotions. Reality TV does this a lot. Married at First Sight is the worst offender. So now we'll have some kind of lush synth pad fade in about now. And there'll be a little bit of silence from the host after it begins to let the new mood settle in. This gap is important as they are going to change the subject. This host has turned his mind back to podcasting in recent weeks. Perhaps it's the fresh start to season 10, or maybe just the sporadic posting and the break at the end of season 9. But I realised that I'd like to focus more on the podcast. The audio, I mean. I'll speak more about this in episode 250, but I've had several mental postures towards the show over the years. At first it was a project about creating something weekly, very fast, with discipline. Then it became a container inside of which I was learning how to write. And then I stopped making the show in 1 hour, as it was exhausting. And then it became a space where I could learn how to rewrite and self-edit. And then I started the video version. A slight tonal progression now to hold the listener's attention and indicate something is going to change. Two things happened next. The show, in my mind, turned into a container to put ideas into, weekly, and the byproduct of which was text, audio, and video. It became an exercise in workflow. Secondly, I learnt to deal with video files and found an editing style that I liked. I also learnt how to read from an auto cue and still hopefully sound natural. And I've tried very hard not to look and feel like a dork in front of the camera. I've made 100 episodes since, and comparing the first attempt to the most recent one, I'm proud of how far I've come. A show with scoring would fade the synth out here, marking a transition to the next section. How about some drums? Yeah, nice. Let's continue. So for season 10 and beyond, I've changed my mind about what all of this, the show, is. At least in my mind anyway. I'm back to making a podcast once again. The video and text are bonus outputs. I have no idea if anyone will notice a change in the show, but for me it feels like a change in creative approach or position. In the language of the body, a new poise. There is so much I'd like to learn about making radio, and so much that I want to explore in audio. At some point in the near future, I'd like to blow open the walls of the 5-minute and 1 second long container and make some proper radio, explore something bigger, different, either on my own or with other people. Anyways, the point is that I'm trying my best to approach the show in a playful way. The topics I write on and the things I'm writing about and the things I'm learning to do and the things I'm trying not to do, I all want to feel like play. The main activity is now the making, the doing and the creating. It should just all feel like play. You see, the drum stopped as my point was finished. And now we'll need to use some familiar music as an outro. And I'll sign off by saying that you can contribute to the creation of future doings from me by heading to www.thejmo.net/support. And as a token of my appreciation, you'll receive a zine in the mail 4 times a year. I'll speak to you next week. This is Sunday, Jay. The answer was a lot more effort than I was expecting.